So the NL East in 2020 is what I want to talk about. The reason is because it's my way of getting a summation of the offseason that we've had for the Braves. The offseason is rounding out. There's only a few more weeks until the start of spring training, so every team is sort of rounding out everything they've done. But the blunt work of the offseason is now over for pretty much every team. And in my opinion, the Braves had the best offseason that they possibly could have had for their long-term future. That's how I feel. That's my ultimate statement about the offseason that was had. Now, the reason for that is, one, because the Braves didn't do anything rash. They didn't do anything stupid. They didn't jump into anything. You saw what Chris Sale would have cost. We found out what Chris Archer would have cost. They didn't do any of that. They kept things, potent for the future. The Braves are a team made for the future, and I fully believe that the future belongs to us, as the Braves. So, in order to frame this, I wanted to look through, what I view as the NL East in 2020. And the point of this isn't, the year 2020 and stuff like that's the year the Braves are going to win the World Series or something like that. The point of this is just basically to frame the future, frame, the decade after this. 2020 is 3 years from now. Because I think that a lot has changed since October about how the NL East is going to look in the future based on what the teams have done. So I'll start, just with the Braves, is that, guys who will be under contract at that point. We already know Freddie Freeman, Ender Inciarte, Julio Teheran. They will be under contract. After that, a lot will be determined. But guys who are still on their rookie contracts, will include Dansby Swanson, Ozzie Albies. I believe Mike Fultonevich will still be under contract. And then all the crop of young pitching that by 2020, pretty much everyone that's in the minors should be up. And the Braves will have assessed who's worked out, who's not. As far as, they're going to lose, a lot of the veterans that are on their team right now, but so is everyone. And the Braves prepared for that. Is 2017 the season for the Braves? Ultimately, who is to say, because it's January. But in reality, no. 2017 is not going to be the Braves' best year. 2017 will be a progressive year for the Braves. Let's look at the Marlins. For the Marlins, I just wrote stayed stagnant. The Marlins are a team that for the last 2 years, really, I've just viewed as a stagnant organization with just a terrible bottom five farm system. The only reputable prospect that they have right now is Braxton Garrett, the guy that they drafted last year. And from there, they added to their bullpen. They added Edinson Volquez. They're trying to get a little better than last year. If that happens, good for them, but that's still not going to be good enough to win the NL East. And even if it is, I won't really be impressed. So for the Marlins, I'm not at all worried about the future. They're either going to be in a rebuild or they'll be in like a Reds or old Phillies situation. For the Mets, I wrote stayed still and increase their reliance on their staff. The Mets are a good team, with Cespedes, who is on the team through 2020. As well as David Wright, and Juan Lagares as a team option that year. Guys who I think will still be on the team. I think that they'll lock up Noah Syndergaard. I think that they'll keep Travis Darnell. Ahmed Rosario will still be on that team. That team will be old by that point. That said, the Mets will not be nothing by 2020. They have shown a great ability to develop young pitchers, and there are more young pitchers in that organization, and they'll have more money to spend. I think that they will, and I think that front office has shown a good ability to plug holes like they did with Neil Walker at second base a year ago. I don't think that the Mets in 2020 will be irrelevant. I don't think that they did anything, to alter, their future, this offseason. For the Phillies, I wrote kept waiting. And then, just as a side note, Philly doesn't scare me. So basically, the Phillies have been rebuilding for a while now. They haven't been good since 2011. It's now 2017. So we're going on like a 6th year since the Phillies were, worth noting. And they've been, developing guys pretty diligently. They've been working pretty hard at it. They've been drafting a lot of guys. They did well in their drafts in consecutive years. Here's the issue with what they've done, and they even addressed this past year drafting Mickey Moniak, is that this is a lineup filled with on-base guys. They don't have any, run-creating threats in their lineup. Now, a lot has been made that the Phillies have almost no money on the books for the future. That is true. Guess who's on the books for 2020? It's Odubel Herrera, who's owed $7 million. The Phillies are going to come out and spend money. That said, they still don't scare me. That lineup still is not intimidating, even with big free agent additions. And what are you going to do if you're Philadelphia? Are you going to add Bryce Harper for $400 million? You're not going to do that. Are you going to add Manny Machado for $400 million? You're not going to do that. You will have money. You won't have, the Yankees money at that point. You won't have Boston money. You won't have New York money. You won't have LA money. You won't have Chicago money. You won't be able to get those guys. Not to mention that you already have a third baseman and shortstop. You don't need Machado. You don't need, Josh Donaldson. Who are you going to add? And I view the Phillies, what they could have done this year is they could have gotten a lot better, in the immediate, because, the team can't last in runs, even though they got a ton of on-base guys. Think about run creators that they could have had. They could have gotten Ian Desmond. They could have gotten Jose Bautista. They could have gotten Brandon Moss. They could have gotten Mike Napoli. These are legitimate run-creating guys that they could have had, at not terrible costs. But they didn't do that. And the Phillies, I see them, they continue to wait, and they're hoping for their pitchers to work out. I'm not making fun. I think a lot of teams are doing the same thing. I think we're doing the same thing. I think the Mets are doing the same thing. I think that the Braves have a much better chance than any of those other teams with their pitchers working out, because we have way more. And this brings me to Washington. And what I wrote for Washington is they went into win-now mode. And in my opinion, the Nationals had just a wretched offseason. Simply put, in that one trade that they made for Adam Eaton, where the team was set up for long-term success with, beyond Bryce Harper. He was going to leave in 2018 along with Daniel Murphy. But, you had Scherzer, Strasburg, Giolito. Then you had guys behind that like Joe Ross and Tanner Roark and Ronaldo Lopez. It was a full rotation for a long period of time. Now it's not. Now it's 5 guys. You're really hoping that those 5 guys work out. Beyond that, you look towards 2020. They have $88 million on the books between Scherzer, Strasburg, Ryan Zimmerman, and Adam Eaton. The team got better in the short term, but when when Harper leaves that team, they're gonna have a lot of soul searching to do, because Victor Robles isn't gonna be a Bryce Harper replacement. And not to mention Daniel Murphy as well. You can hope for a lot in terms of Anthony Rendon and Trey Turner. They're not going to be able to keep up in this competitive division. I think Mike Rizzo is a good GM. I think he made an astonishing decision. Which again, just why I say 2020, I'm putting it down. The Braves are going to win the NL East. To skip to something else, though, is that the Braves did make a pretty significant move because a guy that we talk about a lot on this channel got traded in Mallex Smith. I didn't really have a chance to talk about that. We got Luis Gohara, the 20-year-old left-hander. I like Gohara, but I haven't gotten a chance to get the reaction from, the rest of Braves country about how we're feeling about trading Mallex Smith. Whenever I asked what we're going to do with the outfield excess, everyone said trade Markakis, keep Mallex. So, I'm really interested in that. If you guys, I encourage you guys to comment, tell me about what you think of the Mallex Smith trade, why we did it. It was, a little weird. It wasn't what I was expecting. But yeah, let me know how you guys feel. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys watching. Really appreciate you guys subscribing. So, I appreciate all of that, and go Braves.